What happens when love burns hotter than fear? When passion collides with betrayal? For Adriana and Marcus, desire isn't just dangerous, it's deadly. In a world of secrets, lies, and obsession, only one question remains. Can love survive the shadows? One glance across a crowded room was enough to ignite a fire neither was prepared for. A fire fueled by lies and betrayal, and secrets capable of destroying everything they ever loved. The city sparkled beneath the velvet sky, with lights reflecting off the glassy waters of the harbor, creating a perfect illusion of tranquility and harmony. Amid the vibrant pulse of the annual charity gala held at the magnificent Grand Hotel, Adriana Wells stood poised and confident, the embodiment of grace and sophisticated charm. Known throughout elite circles for her successful career as an influential journalist, Adriana was admired and respected and carefully watched. Dressed in an elegant gown that shimmered like liquid silver, she effortlessly moved through the crowd, engaging in polite conversation while skillfully extracting whispered secrets because it was her specialty, making powerful people trust her enough to divulge their hidden truths. But tonight, as she mingled among politicians and business magnates and socialites, she had no inkling that her carefully balanced world was about to tilt dramatically. Across the glittering hall stood Marcus Hartfield, a charismatic entrepreneur whose influence extended far beyond boardrooms into hidden corridors of power. Marcus was magnetic yet mysterious, his calm demeanor concealing turbulent depths, respected and envied and quietly feared. A man who always got what he wanted no matter the cost. Their first exchange was fleeting yet electric, and Adriana sensed his presence before turning to meet Marcus's gaze across the crowded room, his eyes piercing with intensity, a challenge hidden behind polite intrigue. She felt an unexpected jolt of attraction, sharp and unsettling yet impossible to ignore, and Marcus's subtle smile hinted at acknowledgement of the silent game already underway. Hours later, fate orchestrated their first real encounter when Marcus approached Adriana near the balcony overlooking the shimmering skyline, the distant hum of the city faintly audible below. Adriana Wells, Marcus's voice was deep and smooth, and carried an enticing edge of mystery. "I've heard fascinating things about you. Hopefully only good ones," Adriana replied playfully, masking the immediate vulnerability she felt beneath her confident exterior. "Good things are seldom fascinating," Marcus countered softly, leaning in slightly, his tone holding a quiet intensity. "And you strike me as someone who prefers fascinating truths." His words intrigued and unsettled her simultaneously, igniting curiosity that quickly deepened into something dangerous. Their conversation was brief, yet it left Adriana craving more, sensing Marcus represented something she had never encountered before, a tantalizing blend of strength and hidden vulnerability. Days later, Marcus invited Adriana to an exclusive dinner at a prestigious restaurant hidden high above the city, where the setting was intimate and luxurious, lit by candles casting flickering shadows over their table as conversation flowed effortlessly, and each revelation Marcus carefully offered intensified Adriana's fascination. "What is it you want from me, Marcus?" Adriana asked finally, her tone playful yet probing. Marcus paused with his gaze unwavering and fiercely direct. "Maybe I just want honesty, Adriana. In my world, it's exceedingly rare." She laughed gently, though beneath her amusement lay something deeper and uncertain. Then perhaps we're both seeking something equally elusive. Their connection grew quickly, passionate and irresistible, marked by luxurious evenings spent discovering each other's intricacies and vulnerabilities, as Marcus opened up gradually, revealing fragments of a troubled past that only deepened Adriana's affection. Yet beneath every sincere moment lay a subtle tension she could not define, a constant undercurrent of secrecy. Weeks into their romance, Adriana received an anonymous email that was short and cryptic, yet chillingly direct, reading simply, "Marcus Hartfield is dangerous. Trust him at your own peril." At first she dismissed it, but soon found the warning impossible to shake as doubt crept slowly into her thoughts, a quiet, sinister whisper eroding her confidence. Marcus's past was vague at best, carefully constructed, and revealing only what he wished her to see. She questioned whether he was truly dangerous or merely misunderstood. The relationship intensified, each encounter laced with passionate intensity and emotional complexity. Yet Adriana's investigative instincts grew restless. Driven by suspicion and confusion, she discreetly began to research Marcus's background, uncovering unsettling inconsistencies. His wealth and success were undeniable, but beneath his perfect exterior lurked vague and troubling connections to powerful shadowy figures. One night Marcus left early for a sudden meeting, his manner unusually tense, and left alone, Adriana could not resist the impulse to explore his study, a room she had previously never entered. Heart racing, she stepped quietly inside and glanced nervously toward the door as she approached Marcus's elegant desk, where hidden in a drawer beneath confidential files, she found a small envelope addressed clearly yet discreetly to Marcus. Hesitantly, Adriana opened it, and her heart nearly stopped as she read the brief yet shocking message. "Adriana Wells is becoming a liability. Handle this swiftly or we'll intervene." The room seemed to spin around her as panic surged through her veins, and she questioned whether Marcus could truly be capable of harming her or if their entire relationship was a calculated manipulation. At that exact moment, she heard footsteps approaching rapidly down the hall, her heart pounding violently as she replaced the envelope hastily, closing the drawer just as Marcus stepped calmly into the room with an expression unreadable yet disturbingly alert. "Adriana," Marcus said softly, eyes locked onto hers and voice deceptively gentle, "is everything all right?" Her breath caught painfully, yet she managed to compose herself and forced a practiced smile. "Of course, Marcus, everything's perfectly fine." But deep within her, a new battle had begun, driven by questions that tormented her relentlessly, and she knew that whatever path she chose next would irrevocably alter both their lives, plunging them deeper into a web of love and betrayal and deception from which neither could easily escape. The days that followed felt unbearably tense, with each interaction between Adriana and Marcus laced with silent suspicion, and every whispered word weighed down by hidden meanings. Adriana struggled to maintain her carefully crafted facade, knowing any slip could expose her newfound knowledge and, worse possibly, place her life at risk. Marcus, always perceptive, seemed to sense her unease yet remained silent, maintaining his flawless demeanor of charm and calculated confidence, though their intimate moments grew strained by the shadows of doubt, passion now tinted with secrecy and unspoken truths. Determined to uncover his intentions, Adriana began discreetly tracking his movements with meticulous precision, leveraging her investigative skills, until days of observing him led to uncomfortable discoveries. She witnessed secret meetings at secluded locations and brief exchanges of envelopes with unfamiliar men, each encounter deepening her dread that Marcus was not simply a misunderstood businessman, but something far more dangerous. One evening, she cautiously followed him to a private club hidden in the city's industrial district, slipping into the shadows unnoticed, her heart pounding fiercely as she found a hidden vantage point from which to watch Marcus speak urgently with a man she immediately recognized as Dominic Reed, a notorious power broker long rumored to have deep ties to criminal activities beneath a polished veneer of legitimacy. Their conversation, muffled yet intense, drifted toward her with words that froze her heart. "Adriana is asking questions," Dominic said sharply with a quiet menace in his voice. "We can't afford exposure, Marcus. Deal with her before it becomes a crisis." Marcus's expression hardened as he responded, "She's not a threat. I have everything under control." Dominic leaned forward ominously, and his voice turned icy. "If she digs deeper, she'll force our hand, and you know exactly what that means." Adriana felt sick with dread. Every whispered warning and every anonymous message suddenly validated, sending her spinning into a nightmare of betrayal. Unable to remain hidden, she escaped quickly with her mind racing frantically, each step weighted with panic and confusion as she struggled to reconcile the Marcus she had fallen for with the darkness she now knew surrounded him. When Marcus arrived home later that night, Adriana knew confrontation was inevitable, and she faced him defiantly with fear and anger sharpening her resolve. "Who are you really, Marcus?" she demanded. He paused, assessing her carefully, before responding with disturbing calm. "I think you already know." "Were you ever genuine?" Adriana asked, her voice trembling, her heart breaking beneath her brave facade. "Or was it all part of your twisted manipulation?" Marcus stepped closer, and pain flickered briefly through his composed exterior. "My feelings were real, Adriana, but the world I live in isn't simple. I never intended you harm. Yet you lied," she countered fiercely with tears of betrayal stinging her eyes. "Your friends threatened my life and you stood by silently." Marcus hesitated with eyes shadowed in regret. "There's far more at stake than you realize. I was trying to protect you by keeping you in the dark." "Protect me?" Adriana snapped angrily. "You brought me into this nightmare." Marcus stepped closer with desperation seeping into his voice. "I wanted to shield you. The people I work with don't tolerate weakness, and your questions made you a target. The closer you got, the more danger you were in." Adriana shook her head, wounded yet resolute. "I deserve the truth, Marcus. All of it." Finally, Marcus sighed deeply, surrendering his carefully controlled composure. "I've spent years caught in this web, Adriana. Dominic Reed's network controls everything: politics, business, justice itself. I was trapped, forced to protect their secrets or lose everything, including you." Adriana's anger wavered, and compassion softened her heart against her will. "Then help me expose them, Marcus. If you truly love me, choose me. Not your lies, not your alliances." Marcus stared deeply into her eyes, torn by visible conflict, until determination replaced hesitation. "Together then, but understand clearly, if we fail, neither of us will escape unharmed." Their alliance, fragile yet real, reshaped their bond as they meticulously gathered evidence, secretly recording conversations, capturing images of clandestine exchanges, piecing together a network powerful enough to topple the city's shadowy rulers. Each step forward deepened the danger around them, and Dominic quickly realized Marcus's loyalty was wavering. He set traps, sent warnings, and unleashed violent messages hidden behind polite smiles as Marcus's empire crumbled piece by piece as punishment for betrayal. Yet still they pressed forward, desperate and courageous, determined to bring justice into the light. One night, Marcus returned late, visibly shaken, warning Adriana urgently, "Dominic knows everything. We have very little time. He intends to frame us, both for crimes we didn't commit, silencing us permanently." Fear coursed through Adriana, yet she stood resolute. "We'll go public. Once our evidence is known, Dominic's power collapses." Marcus's voice softened with affection. "It's a dangerous gamble, Adriana. Love itself is dangerous," she replied fiercely, gripping his hand tightly, "but it's worth fighting for." Together, they arranged an explosive exposé, meticulously timed to reveal everything through Adriana's trusted journalist colleagues. But Dominic moved faster, framing Marcus with fabricated evidence of embezzlement and conspiracy, crimes damning enough to silence their truth before it could emerge. Desperate and cornered, Adriana risked everything by meeting Dominic secretly in his lavish office, where her heart pounded fiercely, yet her voice remained unwavering. "It ends now, Dominic. Your empire collapses tonight." Dominic laughed chillingly, dismissive and confident. "I recorded everything. Our entire conversation is already being broadcast live to millions. Your secrets have destroyed you." Dominic paled visibly as realization struck and alarms rang throughout the building. Authorities swarming in, led by Marcus, who had been freed by evidence Adriana secretly provided earlier. Chaos erupted as Dominic was arrested and his empire collapsed beneath media scrutiny. Marcus moved swiftly to Adriana, embracing her desperately in the turmoil and whispering, "You saved us both." Adriana smiled gently, yet confidently. "We saved each other. But even as Dominic fell deeper, truth still waited in the shadows, and though Marcus and Adriana stood side by side in victory, they did not yet realize their most dangerous enemy still lurked unseen, patiently waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. The fall of Dominic Reed rippled across the city like a storm, shattering the illusion of untouchable power, while headlines screamed with revelations of corruption and betrayal. Yet even as Dominic was led away in chains, a new shadow emerged quietly but relentlessly. Isabella Moreau entered their lives like a phantom from the past, an enigmatic woman whose presence carried both elegance and menace. Her name whispered in elite circles with reverence and fear. Though Dominic's empire had collapsed, Isabella moved swiftly into the vacuum, with her ambition razor-sharp and her strategies merciless. And unlike Dominic, she had no interest in concealment, but thrived in chaos, weaving influence through whispers and threats alike. Adriana first encountered her during a charity auction only weeks after Dominic's arrest, where Isabella's commanding aura silenced the room instantly, her beauty striking but laced with danger. Approaching Adriana with deliberate grace, she smiled faintly, her voice silken yet chilling. "So this is the woman who brought down Dominic Reed," she said, eyes glinting with predatory amusement. "You must be quite formidable or incredibly lucky." Adriana stood firm, though unease coiled in her chest. "Luck has little to do with truth." Isabella's smile widened faintly. "Truth is subjective, my dear. Power decides which version of it survives." It became clear almost immediately that Isabella had a personal interest in Marcus, one rooted in their complicated history, for she had once been his closest ally and confidant, bound by trust and shared secrets, perhaps more. Her arrival reopened wounds Marcus had buried long ago, wounds Adriana now found herself forced to confront. One evening, Isabella arrived uninvited at Marcus's penthouse, her presence sending ripples of tension through the room. "We used to dream together, Marcus," Isabella said softly, though her tone carried sharp edges. "We were unstoppable until you chose weakness." Marcus's jaw tightened as his voice remained steady. "I chose a different path, Isabella, one not built on fear." She laughed quietly, her voice filled with disdain. "And yet fear is the only currency that ever lasts. You'll learn soon enough when she betrays you." Adriana, standing nearby, felt the venom in Isabella's words cut deep, but refused to falter. "I don't need to betray him," she said firmly, "because unlike you, I don't mistake love for control." Isabella's eyes narrowed dangerously, lingering on Adriana with icy calculation. "Love is fragile, Miss Wells. It shatters under pressure, and when it does, Marcus will come back to me, because he always has." Those words lingered long after Isabella left, filling Adriana with doubt, and Marcus with conflict he could not easily hide. As weeks passed, Isabella's influence grew terrifyingly fast, manipulating remnants of Dominic's network and expanding into territories even he had never controlled. Adriana and Marcus found themselves cornered once again as threats resurfaced under new command. Isabella played the game differently, striking surgically at their weaknesses, exposing Adriana to relentless media scrutiny, and orchestrating whispers questioning her integrity as a journalist. Anonymous tips began to appear linking Adriana falsely to Marcus's past dealings, headlines twisting her image into something treacherous, her reputation slowly crumbling. One night, Adriana confronted Marcus, frustration breaking through her calm. "She's destroying me, Marcus, piece by piece, and you're still holding something back. What aren't you telling me?" Marcus hesitated, his silence damning, until finally he confessed the truth that shattered what fragile trust remained. "I was with her once, Adriana, years ago, long before us. But it wasn't just business, it was personal. She knows my darkest choices, the things I swore I'd never reveal." Adriana's chest tightened with hurt. "So she's not just your enemy, she's your ghost, the part of you I'll never escape." Marcus reached for her hand desperately. "You are my present and my future, Adriana, not her. Don't let her destroy what we've built." Yet the seeds of doubt Isabella planted had already taken root, leaving Adriana torn between love and betrayal, her heart aching with uncertainty. The inevitable clash came during a secret meeting Isabella orchestrated, summoning Adriana alone to a private rooftop garden high above the city. The night air was cold and sharp, as Isabella waited elegantly poised, a glass of wine in her hand, her voice dripping with poisonous sweetness. "He will never truly be yours," Isabella whispered, circling Adriana slowly, "because every choice Marcus makes has my shadow behind it. You're nothing but a temporary distraction." Adriana stood firm, though her chest tightened with anger. "I am not afraid of you, Isabella." "You should be," Isabella said coolly, "because unlike Dominic, I don't make threats, I make promises." Their confrontation ended without violence, but the tension was undeniable, leaving Adriana shaken yet resolute. She knew Isabella's war would not end with words, and that her love for Marcus was being tested in ways she had never imagined. Their once intoxicating romance had now become a crucible of survival, each choice weighted with consequences, each moment shadowed by enemies too powerful to ignore. And still, in the quiet moments when Marcus held her close and whispered vows of devotion, Adriana felt the warmth of his love battling fiercely against the cold grip of betrayal and fear. She knew the war with Isabella had only just begun, and that the most dangerous battles were still yet to come. Isabella's shadow deepened over their lives with every passing day, her reach extending into places Adriana never expected, places Marcus feared she would touch. Rumors circulated in hushed tones, through boardrooms and newsrooms alike, whispers designed to fracture trust and sow suspicion. Isabella was patient and deliberate, orchestrating her assault like a symphony of destruction, each movement targeting their bond until even silence between Marcus and Adriana became heavy with unspoken fears. One evening, a package arrived at Adriana's apartment wrapped in black ribbon, a cruel mockery of a gift. Inside lay a series of photographs. Marcus and Isabella together years earlier, Intimate moments captured in stolen flashes, a touch at his jaw, his hand at the small of her back, lips pressed together in passion. Adriana's heart clenched as though pierced, her mind reeling with betrayal she wanted desperately to dismiss as a ghost of the past, but could not. That night, when Marcus returned, she confronted him with the photographs, her voice shaking but sharp. "Tell me these aren't real." Marcus froze, his expression shifting between guilt and anguish. "They are real, but they're not what you think." "Not what I think?" Adriana's voice cracked under the weight of her pain. "She's in your arms, Marcus. You kissed her. It was years ago," he interrupted, his tone desperate. "Long before I knew you. She's using fragments of my past to destroy what we have now." "But you didn't tell me?" Adriana whispered bitterly. "You let me walk into her traps blind, knowing she carried your secrets." Marcus reached for her, but she pulled back, eyes wet with betrayal. "Every time I start to believe in us, another lie surfaces. How am I supposed to keep fighting for a love you keep poisoning with half-truths?" He stood helpless before her, his voice raw. "Because what I feel for you is real, Adriana. She may own pieces of my past, but she will never own my heart now." But Adriana couldn't answer, not with certainty. That night she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, torn between the burning ache of betrayal and the fierce pull of love she still could not extinguish. Isabella, of course, did not relent. Her schemes escalated from psychological warfare to ruthless manipulation, placing Adriana directly in the crosshairs of public scandal. Leaked documents appeared, suggesting Adriana had fabricated sources in her reporting. Journalists who once admired her now questioned her integrity. Headlines screamed of dishonor, and sponsors pulled their support from her projects. Overnight, her career, the life she had built with relentless discipline, began to crumble. Marcus urged her to hide, to let him shield her from Isabella's reach, but Adriana's pride burned too fiercely. "If I run now, she wins," she declared. "If I let you fight this battle for me, I become exactly what she says I am. Weak, replaceable." Her defiance only deepened Marcus's love, but also magnified Isabella's determination. Soon, subtle threats turned lethal. Adriana returned home one evening to find her apartment door ajar, the lock broken, her belongings overturned. At the center of the chaos lay a single blood-red rose placed carefully atop her bed. A message in Isabella's unmistakable handwriting accompanied it. "Everything you love will wither." The warning was clear. Isabella's war was no longer confined to the realm of reputation and secrets. It had become a battle of survival. The rose on her bed haunted Adriana through sleepless nights, a silent reminder that Isabella's games were no longer symbolic, but lethal. Every creak of her apartment, every unfamiliar face on the street, felt like a threat. Marcus tried to convince her to move into his penthouse under constant security, but Adriana refused, unwilling to let Isabella force her into a cage. "If I hide, I'm already defeated," she told him firmly, though fear gnawed at her resolve. The escalation came swiftly. One evening, as Adriana drove home from the newsroom, her brakes failed on a sharp curve along the river road. The car spun violently, crashing against the guardrail before coming to a shuddering stop mere feet from the edge. Shaken but alive, Adriana stumbled out to find a note pinned beneath her windshield wiper. "Accidents happen. Next time you won't be so lucky." Marcus's fury was explosive when he learned what had happened. He stormed into Isabella's private club, cornering her in front of her entourage. "If you ever touch her again, I swear..." His voice was raw with rage, but Isabella only smirked coolly, swirling a glass of wine as though amused. "You swear what, Marcus?" she interrupted. "That you'll kill me? You won't. You can't. Because a part of you still belongs to me, and we both know it." Marcus's jaw tightened, his fists trembling at his sides. Isabella leaned closer, her voice a venomous whisper. "She'll never survive this world, Marcus, and when she's gone, you'll come crawling back to me, just like before." He left without another word, but Adriana saw the torment in his eyes when he returned. He was unraveling, pulled between his love for her and the shadows Isabella wrapped around his past. Their once fierce bond began to fray under the relentless pressure. Arguments erupted where once there had been tenderness. Adriana accused him of keeping too many secrets. Marcus accused her of recklessly endangering herself by refusing his protection. Each fight ended the same way, with silence, with distance, with doubt. One night, unable to bear the tension, Adriana confided in her closest colleague, Emma, revealing everything. Dominic, Isabella, Marcus's past, the threats. Emma listened intently, her brow furrowed in concern. "You need to decide, Adriana," she said carefully. "Is this love worth your life? Because that's the cost Isabella intends to make you pay." Adriana had no answer. She wanted to believe love was worth any price, but every day the line blurred between passion and destruction. Then Isabella struck again, this time not with threats, but with revelation. A damning dossier appeared in Adriana's inbox, filled with financial records, transfers, and coded ledgers, all pointing to Marcus as the silent partner in Dominic Reed's empire. If released, it would not only ruin him, but confirm every suspicion Isabella had been planting. Adriana confronted Marcus, holding the evidence in trembling hands. "Tell me this isn't true." Marcus looked at her with anguish in his eyes. "It is true, but not the way she wants you to believe. Yes, I was involved. I had no choice. It was survival. But I've been trying to dismantle it from the inside ever since. Isabella twisted what I did to make it look like allegiance when it was resistance." Adriana staggered back, the weight of his confession crushing her. "You should have told me everything from the start." "I was afraid," Marcus admitted, his voice breaking. "Afraid of losing you. Afraid you'd see me as a monster, not a man." Tears stung Adriana's eyes. "And now I don't know which you are." Their love, once blazing, now flickered under the storm's assault, fragile as a candle in the wind. Isabella had succeeded in the one thing she wanted most, driving a wedge between them, making Adriana question whether Marcus was her salvation or her ruin. And as Adriana walked away that night, leaving Marcus alone in the shadows of his penthouse, she knew the battle ahead would not only decide their survival, it would decide whether love could truly withstand the weight of lies, betrayal, and the merciless hand of Isabella Moreau. Adriana's absence left Marcus hollow, his penthouse echoing with silence, where once her laughter had softened the edges of his world. He searched for her, called her endlessly, but she kept her distance, torn between love that still burned and doubts that refused to die. Isabella, ever watchful, seized the opportunity, circling closer like a predator sensing wounded prey. One evening, Adriana received another message. Not a threat this time, but an invitation, a location, a time, nothing more. Against reason, against every instinct that screamed danger, she went, perhaps to end it, perhaps to confront Isabella one last time. She arrived at an abandoned ballroom, its chandeliers shattered, its walls lined with shadows that seemed alive. Isabella stood at the center, dressed in black silk, a vision of elegance and menace combined. "You came," Isabella said with a smile both triumphant and cruel. "I'm not here to play your games," Adriana replied, her voice steady though her heart raced. "This ends tonight." Isabella circled her slowly, like a panther stalking its prey. "Do you know why you'll never win, Adriana? Because you're fighting for something that doesn't exist. Marcus doesn't belong to you. He never will. His soul is stained, tied to me. And no matter how hard you cling to him, he will always come back." Adriana's hands trembled, but her gaze did not waver. "He may have a past with you, but I am his future. That's something you can never take." Isabella's smile sharpened. "We'll see." At that moment, Marcus burst into the ballroom, his voice echoing with fury. "Enough, Isabella." His presence filled the space, his eyes blazing with a mix of rage and desperation. Isabella turned to him, her expression softening almost imperceptibly. "You came," she whispered. "I came to end this," Marcus growled. "No more threats, no more lies. You want me? Here I am. But leave Adriana out of it." Isabella's eyes glistened with something dangerous, almost like sorrow. "You'd sacrifice yourself for her?" "I'd sacrifice everything," Marcus said without hesitation. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then Isabella's face hardened, her voice turning to ice. "Then you are a fool, and fools deserve nothing but ruin." She raised her hand, and from the shadows her men emerged, armed, merciless. Adriana gasped, but Marcus stepped in front of her, his body a shield. Chaos erupted as the standoff escalated, Marcus fighting with brutal precision while Adriana scrambled for cover. The ballroom became a war zone, glass shattering, echoes of violence filling the air. In the end, it was Adriana who turned the tide. Seizing a weapon dropped in the struggle and holding it firmly in trembling hands. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Everyone froze, Marcus bloodied but unbroken, Isabella's men hesitant, Isabella herself staring with unreadable eyes. Adriana's hands shook, but her aim was true, her heart pounding in her chest. "Walk away, Isabella. This is over." For the first time, Isabella faltered. She looked at Adriana, truly looked, and saw not fear but fire. Slowly, almost gracefully, she raised her hands and signaled her men to withdraw. Her smile returned, faint but chilling. "You've won tonight," Isabella murmured, "but the war isn't over. Love doesn't save you, Adriana. It destroys you. Remember that." With that, she slipped back into the shadows, her presence lingering like a phantom, long after she was gone. Marcus collapsed to his knees, exhausted, blood streaking his face. Adriana rushed to him, dropping the weapon, her hands cradling his cheeks. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus whispered hoarsely, "You saved me." Adriana shook her head, tears spilling freely. "No, Marcus, we saved each other." In that broken ballroom, amidst the wreckage of violence and betrayal, they clung to one another, bruised, shaken, but still together. The future remained uncertain, Isabella's shadow still looming. But for the first time, Adriana believed their love, tested by fire, had become something unbreakable. Because love was no longer just a feeling between them. It was survival. It was defiance. It was war.